So for this one, we have an algebraic expression. It is a quadratic. Because of this 2, we might say it's quadratic, or we'll say it's a second degree polynomial in 2 variables. Those are, you have to learn the terminology of how to explain what these things are. That way you are able to understand your instructors when they say something as you go and take more and more advanced classes. So this is a quadratic or a second degree polynomial in 2 variables. You're given the values of the inputs that you're gonna utilize. And so we're gonna make a substitution. Though nobody used the word substitution in the problem. So that's something you have to infer. When they say evaluate, they're asking you to substitute. Okay, so then knowing that, let's do the substitution. 7 instead of u, I'm gonna plug in the -2. And instead of v, I'm gonna plug in the -7. Oh, got ahead of myself there. And the same here in this last one, it's a v. So let's plug in a -2 here. Then a -2 and a -7. And this is a v, so that's a -7. Okay, now you're gonna follow order of operations. Parentheses. When they say parentheses, they're talking about things that are grouped inside the parentheses. If there's only one thing inside the parentheses, that's not what PEMDAS is referring to. So in this case, if you're using PEMDAS as a support or help to do this, there's nothing to do with a P. But there are 2 exponents, and you're gonna do that piece first, which is here and here. So -2 squared is 4. The negative has been utilized, so we're done with the negative, because the thing that I circled here is really -2 times -2. So this symbol tells us how many times we're gonna write the -2, right? So this is, let's make that orange. So there's 2 of them. Yeah. 2 -2s. So -2 times -2 is a +4. So we're done with the negative. The same then, if that made sense, then you know this is just 49. Because -7 squared is -7 times -7. And then we do multiplication and division, if there's any division. There isn't. So we're gonna move from left to right, multiplying. So 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times -2 is -14. And then -14 times -7. I find it easier actually to use commutative property. So I'm gonna multiply the 7 and the -7, which I know is -49. And it's easier for me to multiply -49 times 2. -49 is almost 50. So if I do 50 times 2, I know that's 100. So 49 times 2 is going to be 2 less than that. I don't know if that's obvious to you, but it's going to be -98. So what I end up getting is a -98 because I have a positive times a negative, which is a negative times a negative is a positive. So my mistake, it's a positive. And then I'm bringing this minus sign straight down. And then 3 times 49, I'm going to use the same trick and do 50 times 3. That's 150. But I'm going to reduce that by 3 because 49, for each of the 49s, I should remove a 1. And so this is 147. Of course, if you need a calculator for some of this, that's okay. I'm gonna do some erasing here so that I can do more of my computation, whatever's left. So 28, I'm gonna add 28 and 147 again. So PEMDAS tells you to add and subtract from left to right. But there's also something called commutative property. Okay. And I'm going to use it because it's going to make my work easier. I'm going to take 28 and add it to 147. So this is one of those where you have to know the rules so you know where you can bend the guide. PEMDAS is just a guide, but what you're really gonna utilize are the rules of doing operations and the properties of numbers. And by commutative property, I'm allowed to add those. So 8 and 7 is 15. 7. This is a 1. So it's 175 is what I'm getting. And then now I'm going to do the 175, take away the 98, 7, 6. I need to borrow 8 and 7 is 15. 16 minus 9 is 7. So I'm getting 77. And that is the answer. If you have like a TI calculator, you can plug this in directly and see if it matches your work. But that's how you complete this problem.